Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Possibilities with Monique de Maio. I am super excited to have with me a wonderful lady. Her name is Lisa Lyons. Let me tell you a little bit about Lisa Lyons. She is a dedicated educator who has devoted her career to the field of special ed. Currently serving as an educational consultant, her work is centered on empowering educators to take ownership of their professional growth and mindset to enhance the learning for all students. In addition to her consultancy role, Lisa is a compelling speaker, engaging audiences in conversations about the importance of kindness, which is how I met her. Throughout her personal and professional journey, Lisa has gained a deep understanding of the impact that one single moment of kindness can have on an individual. She believes that by recognizing and embracing these moments, each of us holds the ability to contribute meaningful change in our world. Lisa lives in North Jersey with her husband, Mike, and her two beautiful daughters, Jess and Sammi. Welcome, Lisa. So good to have you here.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
So we came together because our loved clients, or my loved client, I call them my little love client, the Phoenix Center from Nutley, New Jersey, who it specializes in children with multiple disabilities and usually on the autism spectrum. And you have a history. So why don't you tell us about that history and then tell us about your journey throughout the years?
Okay, so yes, years ago, I was actually, because of a friend, I was hired as a paraprofessional at the Phoenix Center, kind of on a whim. It was, hey, we're just opening the school. We need somebody to come. Do you want to try it? And I was like, sure, why not? So I went in, and I swore all my life that I would never be a teacher. So I went, and quickly it just kind of became obvious that it was natural, that it was, it was meant to be. I went there. I loved it. It's such a great school. Now, I was there when it was opening, so it was brand new. So we were all a very young staff, all learning together, which was a lot of fun. And I then went back and got my certification and became a special education teacher through the help of the Phoenix Center. So I worked with Julie, who is now the director. Julie was the art teacher back at the time. She's now the executive director, and she's become a very, very dear, close personal friend of mine for years. So as the years went on, and I, grew, and I taught, and I changed careers here and there. And now that I'm speaking, I was asked by Julie to come back and speak to her staff about kindness, even though they're probably one of the kindest staffs out there. It's their theme of the year. So I was so happy to do it. And it was kind of fun for the full circle moment to come back to the Phoenix Center after all those years.
That's awesome. I'm so glad we wrote about you in the newsletter. So, yes, they are kind people. First of all, I want to unpack a couple of things. The fact that you said I didn't want to be a teacher. And I wanted to ask you why you thought that was the case for you.
I don't know. I just had no intentions. I mean, I went to school for communications. I wanted to be either, a journalist or advertising. I had all these different grand ideas. I don't know why none of them took place. I graduated and I never went that direction. And the second I went in the classroom, I just kind of felt at home. It was natural to me. It was, the kids were great. I loved working with them. I don't know why I didn't want to be a teacher. I can't say that it wasn't something that, appalled me or anything like that. I just, early on in my college education, someone had said, "Oh, be a teacher." And I was like, "No, I don't want to be a teacher. I don't want to go back to school and do all that." But the second I got in there, it just honestly it came so natural to me. It was a joy to be in the classroom, and it was kind of easy.
Yeah, totally. Well, you have a natural gift of first of all, you're very engaging, and I can't imagine anybody being in your classroom or in your presence without smiling. So that's your superpower. I think that the minute I met you, I was like, oh, wow, I'm smiling all the time. What's going on right now? I must have had some Lisa Lyons powder or something. So you have that infectious personality. So I can't imagine the kids wouldn't kind of resonate with you. And then if you're human and you have any sort of pulse, I would imagine you would do really well with people with any sort of positivity in their bloodstream.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just when you walk into something that feels natural and it feels like home, it just did. So I'm very lucky that whole experience kind of fell in my lap, and it changed the course of my life basically.
So, well, in my mind, there's sort of things happen for a reason, kind of not stuff. And so you're a compelling speaker. So people who are listening, please keep Lisa in mind if you want to have your group spoken with to collaborated with on the topic of kindness. Tell us a little bit about what does a kindness speech look like? Like what is that? How does that show up?
So it's hard sometimes because kindness seems in our everyday life like such a fluffy word that we throw away, right? Oh, be kind, be kind. Especially in school, you hear "be kind" all the time, too much, almost. Not that you're not saying it too much, but it becomes just something that you just don't think about anymore. So, and over the years, I've ever since I was young, it was just me. I'm that person who speaks to someone online at the grocery store. I'm the one who makes friends in the airport, right? So, I'm the one. I'm the one that will go over and help a stranger, and just because want someone to do it for me. Not that I'm. Believe me, I'm not. I don't walk around with rainbows and butterflies around me. That's not my life. But I'm the kind of person who likes to meet people. I just like people in general. Always have since I was a young kid. And then as I got older, the world hits and you start to see unkind things happening around you. You start to see people who just have unkind mentalities or are out. You just seem like they're out to be not so nice to people in your everyday life. And I'm talking general everyday life. And it just started over the years. It started to kind of get to me. So I was the kind of person who was always an optimist. So a couple of years ago, my daughter got sick and we were having a problem diagnosing her, and she was really very, very ill. And on top of the illness, she went into a very deep and scary depression. And it was overwhelming me. It was overwhelming the family. It was just like this cloud, that was over us for the time. At the same time, we were going through the pandemic. So I was a teacher. I was virtually teaching, which really wasn't fun for anybody. We were all home together, my whole family, and we were having a hard time finding doctors and getting to doctors because of everything. And the world was just kind of an angry place. People were mad politically. People were mad, they were fighting over the vaccine and the masks and everything that was out there. So it seemed like everyone was they're just more focused on getting their opinion out there, or they had to be right or wrong. And people were I felt like everyone was getting mean. And it was on TV, it was everywhere. So I started in my daughter being sick, teaching and everything, I kind of started going inward into this bubble where I didn't want to go out. Again, it was COVID, so I couldn't go out that much, but I didn't want to really see people as much as I normally want to. I stopped using social media because it was so negative. I stopped watching the news because it was just, hate all over the place. And it was really affecting me. I was becoming negative. And that's when I kind of started to notice that what you become, like what you are, is what you see.
Yes.
And it didn't hit me quickly. So as I was slowly going into my own pity party, my daughter and I traveled to a hospital, and everyone had such bigger problems that we did. I mean, people were very, very ill. People come from all over the world to go to this hospital. So, and as we were there, everyone in this town and in this hospital and the whole town runs around the hospital. And the amount of genuine empathy, kindness, and connection that happens in that place it's unheard of. I kind of call it the Disneyland for sick people, which that might not be the nicest thing to say, but everyone is just out to make the person next to them have a better day than them.
Yeah. I mean, so our cousin had brain surgery at Mayo. She talks about the incredible feeling that you get when you're there.
I hope she's doing well.
Yeah, she's doing well now. Thank God. Yeah, it's good.
And it's the silly things. It's the really little things. It's, again, these people are dealing with life and death situations, but everyone has time to say hello or sit next to you or talk to you or ask you why you're there. And it was there one day when I was having a really particularly bad day when a woman just stopped next to me and kind of gave me a few seconds of her time. When it happened, I didn't realize what was happening. She stopped. I was outside having a pity moment. I was crying. My daughter was in the hospital. She just walked past, touched me, and just said, it's a beautiful day. Try and enjoy it. And then she just walked away. And then later on, I happened to see her pushing her husband out of the main doors of the hospital, who was obviously very ill. I'm assuming it's her husband. It seemed like it was her husband. And he was very ill. And I was thinking to myself, that woman understood kind of where I was in that moment, right? She understood my sadness, my moment of weakness, where I was, my pity party, as I called it. So she just stopped. She didn't do much. She just touched me on the shoulder, kind of let me know she was there. But when I saw her coming out of the hospital is when I realized, hmm, you have to stop thinking about yourself so much. You have to kind of open your eyes and look around. And I always had done that before then. I just let the world and everything that was going on in my world kind of bring me inward. So what happened in that moment was I was like, okay, it's time to go back. It's time to open up and start. Not that I wasn't caring about people around me, but I need to start opening up and looking around and looking for those moments.
How is your daughter doing?
She's great. Mayo Clinic was amazing. She's healthy, happy.
Thank God.
Everything was great, but it's funny because both of us out there notice the just the insane kindness. It's just such a lovely feeling.
And it's funny because it doesn't take an awful lot to be kind. To have that moment of the reaffirmation, the tap on the shoulder, I hear you, I see you, I acknowledge you, I understand you. And here's something that you may want to consider, that it's not the end of the world. Fill in the blanks. It's not the end of the world. You're going to be okay. She's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. You're going to get past this. It's a moment in time. It's a bump in the road. It's not forever.
And I think even, obviously some people, they won't be okay. So that happens. But it was just a matter of, again, these people who are fighting for their life or doing things, they always turned and said hello. They always gave you their seat. They always greeted you with a smile when they had every reason, really not to. So, and I think it's because I was at such a low point in my life that it just hit me like everywhere we went in that town. I was like, wow, it was crazy to watch. It was beautiful to watch. And it kind of just opened my eyes to, hey, stop doing this. Get out of your own thoughts and back into the world again.
That's really, really awesome. So the message that you impart when you speak now, and you've got an incredible background in special ed. So I get the same sort of loving feeling when I walk into the Phoenix Center, and they have the most challenging of students that I've ever encountered. And yet the love that pours out of the administration and the educators and the professionals there, the staff is unbelievable. So I feel like they drank the Kool-Aid that you are serving today, big time. Tell us what that looks like. You come into a room. It's hard because you're trying to make people be more humane.
Yeah, what I'm hoping to do is just to get people to stop and think about the moment. So it's funny because people will say to me, this can't save the world, and I'm like, it's not about that. People that walk around, you'll hear all the time, I hate people. I don't want to be around people. That kind of stuff. But the thing is, when you go out with the attitude of I hate people or everyone annoys me, then you're the one that's really annoyed. So you're the one that's making your world miserable. You're the one that's looking for it. So you're going out saying, let me see how more annoyed I can get, right? Instead of looking for the good. And it was funny because when I first started researching for this speech, I was thinking everything in the world was so negative. It was during COVID. Everyone was fighting. I was like, everywhere I go, there's just people in the supermarket yelling at the workers, like all these little things that were happening. Everyone will have a bad day. So everyone can be forgiven for a bad moment. Everyone has it, right? But once I started looking for, I was like, let me just go out there and see who's kind. And it was funny because after like a week or two, all of a sudden I would go out and I'm like, wow, there's so many good things happening. But it's because I was already looking for it. My brain was already looking for it. So if you go out into the world knowing that you hate people and you don't want to be anywhere and everyone's annoying, then you know what? They will be, and that's the life you're going to have. So I'm kind of trying to tell people, just stop, take a breath, and realize that everybody around you has a life just like you do. It's not just your world. Like we kind of all get up and we have our to-do list and we want to get our stuff done. And if you're in my way, you're a problem. But you have a list too, right? And you have family and you have things to do. So it's just realizing that we're all human, taking a breath. If you're mad at the person in the supermarket, don't react. Just step back a second and think, if that was your child or that was your mother or whoever, would you want someone yelling at them? Just think before you react.
I usually get the cashier at the store that's very, very unhappy. And I actually look for them so that I can turn the frown upside down, and I totally engage them and I make them laugh and I goof on myself. And then by the time I leave, the person behind me has a much different cashier.
Right. And it's funny because back years ago, way back when I was a waitress, and I loved waitressing. I really did. I was like the cranky old man waitress. So if there was a cranky old man, I was okay, give it to Lisa, because I used to love getting those cranky old men to laugh. Because usually once you kind of break through that initial crankiness, they're usually wonderful people, right? And they have fun, and then they're devoted to you. Then they love you. So I'm the same way. I love getting the cranky person and kind of making them smile, or at least if you can't, then like you said before, when someone yells at a cashier, then you're super nice to the cashier next. So you kind of make them feel better. It's just a matter of, I don't know. I think if everyone just gives it a second and thinks about their everyday interactions with everyone around them, not only can you make everybody else's life better, but you will make your life so much nicer and so much more enjoyable and so much more fulfilled. But I think everyone goes out there always in the hustle bustle and we forget about this little word of kindness.
Yeah, I mean, I want to sort of unpack the what do you tell the students? So I want to differentiate the neurotypical from the non-neurotypical just for this exercise because I had a woman on who was an advocate for her son who was on the spectrum, and she had a great story to tell, and people were not particularly nice to her, even in I don't want to pick on them, but even the church, she belonged to a church. It was a Catholic school, and she thought this would be a great place for her son. And they were ultimately incredibly not nice to her, which is sort of ironic and very disappointing. Anyway, let's take the non-neurotypical students for a moment and then kind of break down what are the small things that you in their ability to understand what you're saying. What do you tell them to like? What are one or two tricks or tips that you would share with them? And then we'll talk about the neurotypical kids of our kids' age.
So I find with kids, all kids really, it's more about what you do because you know, especially your own kids, you can talk and talk and talk. They don't really always listen. So it's more about modeling. It's more about always, trying to have a little bit more patience, a little bit more kindness, a little bit more empathy, talking to when you have a student who's just acting out or not doing what you want them to do, trying to go about it a different way. Now, again, I don't want to paint a picture that I was this teacher who was always like, okay, and I was always calm. And no, it's everyone has their day when they can't understand it. But when you model it to the children, so not only with the other students in the class, but model it with the rest of the staff. When other staff would come into my classroom, just the way we treat each other, just the way we talk. I would tell them about things that I did for other staff members or that we did together. So they realize that we all care about each other. It's just showing your true self really to the students, and including when you have a bad day, admitting, oh, I wasn't so good yesterday. I lost my cool. And it's really just modeling over and over and over again. And sometimes with some of the students that are more severe, when I worked in the Phoenix Center, it's just showing them kindness and understanding that some of the things that they're doing, they're not doing to me personally. It's just because they're doing them. So usually when you get mad at someone or annoyed with somebody, usually it's because you're taking it personally.
Ah, there you go. Now we've unearthed the Pandora's box. It's what did they say and what did you make it mean? It's the distinction that I learned in one of my training programs. Just because she made a weird face at the time that you said something doesn't mean she hates your ideas or you.
She might not have even heard your ideas, right? You don't know.
She might not even heard it. She might be just thinking about this annoying text she got from her son, or she might have gas from Mexican food she had for lunch.
Exactly, exactly. And you know what? And even if she does hate your ideas, okay, not everyone has to like everything that you do. So yeah. I like the gas one though. That's perfect.
How old's your daughter now?
I have a 23-year-old, almost 24, and a 22-year-old.
So I have 23 and 27. So let's assume that they're younger or we're not them, whatever. We're going into a high school and they're all freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors, a whole school. So they're what? They're 15, 16, 17, and 18 years old. They know everything.
Everything.
You know nothing.
They know. Yep. I'm very uncool.
Oh, you're very uncool. I'm very uncool too. I'm very uncool. So there's not a lot that they're going to be taught, I think, of course, God forbid. So assuming that we can't take their phones away from them, we have to get them to hear your message. How do we do that? Like, how can I help amplify your message with this core audience?
So that's hard. I mean, I have to say, when I speak, I don't speak to students. I speak to staffs and adults. But students need to hear what I said before. They need to start looking at other students as people. In other words, that strange kid in the corner that they think is weird and they don't like. He's not cool enough for them. That's somebody's son. It's somebody's brother. It's somebody's best friend. It's the boy who's not speaking to anybody at his desk. Maybe he has a really horrible home life. You just don't know. And it's so true. And we all do it and we all forget. I've done it as a teacher. I've done it where the kids come in without their homework, without anything they have, they were supposed to have. And you're like, oh, what are you doing? And then later on you think, maybe at home things aren't so good.
Right.
So it's a matter of thinking about the deeper story. I tell my kids and I tell people that I know, and I get a lot of eye rolls, to make up a story in your head. It doesn't make a difference if it's real or not. Make up a story about the person who's annoying you or you don't like or whatever. And that story will most likely make you look at them differently, even if it's true or not. So like I said, the boy who's cranky and never talks to anybody, or maybe he's dressed horribly, maybe no one's home for him. Maybe he has a really bad life, right? So if you start making up those stories in your head, it will help you have the empathy and help you think before you react. Even if it means you're not going to do anything, you're just not going to say that bad thing. Right? I'd rather you do something nice, but if it just means that you're not going to do something negative, that's still a kindness. It's still just not doing, not making somebody feel worse than they would have felt that, that minute that you're with them. So I try and always say, when you walk into a room, and then you leave a room, leave it better than it was, when you came in, right? It could just be a tiny bit better. Leave it better.
That we're separated at birth. I say that to my children. I said when I were little, I always said this. I don't care what you end up doing for a living. Literally, I don't care. I just need you to leave the planet a little bit better than you found it, however that shows up for you.
And what I say in my speech, one of the things I talk about is that your attitude, the way you feel, your mood, you carry that everywhere you go, whether you want to or not. If I was if I just had a major fight with my daughter, when I came on this podcast, even though I would try not to, I would still have like an edge because I would have been, annoyed. So you carry that in every room and you leave a piece of it everywhere you go, right? You leave itty bitty pieces. So if you have to leave itty bitty pieces, make them
good pieces. Make them good, delicious pieces.
Reese's pieces. It's funny. Like we're around the same age. I can't remember what I went into a room for, right? But if you ask me a couple of people in my past that have, been kind to me, even if I don't know their names from like 30 years ago, I will remember those people. So I have a little spot in my brain for somebody who's done something kind to me.
Right. Oh yeah.
Right. Everyone does. A teacher, a neighbor, a friend.
And you also have a little spot in the memory where people hurt you.
You do. And it's actually been proven scientifically that we remember negative things easier.
Yes, we do. 80% of our thoughts, unfortunately, are negative as humans. That's the statistic, which is kind of scary.
Which is why I think kindness isn't as simple as everyone says. You have to work at it. But then it gets easier.
Yeah, I think what you're describing is an ongoing energy.
Yeah.
And if you're putting out positive energy, it's as easy to put out positive energy as it is to put out negative energy. You just have to decide what energy you're going to show up with. And if you're going to let the thing that annoyed you 5 minutes prior carry over to the next thing that you do, because if you do, then the whole day is shot. It's like, I can't do anything right. I'm having a bad day, the traffic. Then everything in that day sort of lines up to your negative speaking, and your negative narrative that you've just described is your reality. But meanwhile, you could turn it around if you wanted to.
Right. So what do you, by being negative, you're not really affecting, you might affect people here and there, out there, but you're really like the deep effect is you. You're ruining your day. You just said it. You're ruining your entire day. So when people walk around and say, life stinks, life is hard, people stink, on and on, I'm like, maybe some of that is you. You got to look for the good. You have to look at something with a bright light, something. So it's just changing the way you think. And again, no one's perfect. I don't walk out in the world every day, smiling and greeting people left and right. Everyone has their moment. But in general, my goal is to get people to just think and try and put, a little bit more goodness out there.
It's a compounded interest effect. I like to say these micro moments, they have macro outcomes, macro results. What would you tell your 30-year-old Lisa self if you had a chance to talk to her right now?
I love that question. I think I would tell myself that your attitude and connection to others matters more than you know, matters more than how smart you are, matters more than how much money you have. What I would like, what I tell all my daughter's friends who are in their 20s is it's important to be smart, it's important to be driven, it's important to work hard, but it's really important to make people feel good and remember you. The connections are really what I mean. Look, I'm sitting here talking to you because I met you through Julie. It's just the connections, right? So I think everyone is so, I feel like, and I feel like an old lady when I say this. Nowadays, everyone is so, I'm going to stay home. I'm going to work from home. I'm going to have my earbuds in on my computer all day. I don't want to see anybody. But I think I would tell people that your personality and if you have, your warmth and your empathy can really get you far in life. It can bring you so much joy. What I wish I had done back then is that I wish I had done more service, more volunteering, more, out there in the world, like really giving. I didn't really know about that until, not that I didn't know about it, but I didn't really experience it until later on in life. So I think I would tell myself that your personality and just your you can really carry you along in life, and it can get you a lot further. You'd be surprised, professionally and personally.
So isn't it, it's the Maya Angelou quote, right? They'll forget what you say, they'll forget what you do, they'll never forget how you made them feel.
And it's true. So I was telling my daughter's friends, the one they were talking about job interviews, and I said, even if you go in there and just connect with somebody, if they like you for whatever reason, if they just click, it doesn't mean that everyone has to like you, but if you have a connection, you'll stand out in their minds. So the smartest person may get the job the first time, but if that person does not connect and doesn't work well with others and it's not pleasant to be around, eventually they're going to fall down, right? So you have to have the ability to get along with people and to have empathy and make people want to be around you.
It's funny, we used to say that to our kids. It's like, look, you have to remember that not only are they hiring you because you're fresh out of school, you know nothing, they're going to train you, but what they're really thinking in their heads is, can I sit next to this guy for 8 hours if I had to? And if the answer is no, they're not hiring you. If you're a pill or you come across as a stuck up little entitled little shit, pardon my French, they're not getting the job. If you come and find something to connect on. So if you walk into somebody's office and they have a picture of cycling, talk about how you're a cyclist too, or you play pickleball, or you play, tennis, or you're a runner, or whatever the case may be. And the other thing, tell your daughter's friends to remember to do is when they save their resume, use the keyword that they talked about in the meeting in part of the file name. So it would be like Susie Smith _ cyclist.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true because like when someone likes you, they can see 20 people, but if they like you, it doesn't mean necessarily you get the job right away, but they will remember you. And then maybe another job will come along, or it's not the be all end all, but it makes such a difference in everyone's day. And then I also tell them, be yourself. If you're a little quirky, then be a little quirky. I mean, don't go in there, and really act, out of the ordinary. But if you're quirky, don't hide it. Don't try and go in there and be perfect because it's not who you are.
Yeah, I think authenticity is really, I mean, I know that it's an overused word now in sort of coaching and my world as well. And it's, maybe overused, but there is such truth to being true to yourself because you show up different when you're allowed to be. If you're goofy, which I'm very goofy, if I'm myself, I'm just goofy, and I'm okay if you don't like it.
But the more relaxed you are, the more you're gonna like somebody. Like when someone's uptight and sitting there and being all proper, or you try and say what they want you to say, you're not going to sound authentic. You're not going to sound. I used to say to the middle schoolers, and this is not probably even an appropriate phrase, but I used to always say, "Let your freak flag fly." Kids in middle school are all
right. They're so awkward. They haven't figured out what they are yet. They're not adults. They're not kids. They're like, I don't know. Their bodies are in different state. I just remember my son having like a metamorphosis between 8th and 9th grade. He was a completely different human.
They do. I mean, you have this like 7th grade kids who are like, this, and then you have the hairy 8th grade kid with the beard, right? And they're just awkward. They're trying to fit in. They're trying to be cool. So if you like something strange, whatever it may be, just let it be. It's fine. And then eventually, what I used to love about middle school, because middle school is a strange place to teach, is that we'd have like say a night when everyone like what's called a dance, everyone would come into the school, and you'd see the kids who were a little off the beaten path, but they'd always find the other kid who is off the beaten path. So everyone finds, you find your niche. So that's my other big thing for my 30-year-old, surround yourself with people who are like-minded, who make you a better person, who challenge you to be a better person. You never want to be the smartest person in the room ever. And you want to be around people who just, who will challenge you to be better, and a lot of people don't do that because they're afraid.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that too, because I told my son recently, and I've said this a couple times, if you're the smartest guy in the room, get another room.
It's true. We parent alike, me and you.
Oh, absolutely. Oh my God, I want to meet your daughters. That's going to be so much fun. Well, you can meet my daughter. You get a little bit of an advantage because I just did a podcast with her and it dropped last week. She talks about time management. She's an awesome, she's very vigilant about her time. So intentionality being forward. I think if you have a call to action that you want to leave people with, like, they're going to remember you just because you're impactful. And I'd like you to leave them with like either a challenge or a takeaway or something that you want to leave them with as a result of this conversation. What would that be?
So I would say intentionally go out and try to put kindness into the world. Tell yourself, I want to make 3 strangers smile tomorrow. Or I'm going to do 3 things for people that I know. Because a lot of times we forget about the people we know. So like at school, silly things I used to say to people, like leave it anonymous, like a little Post-it note on someone's desk. Just what's up, something nice about them. Doesn't need to be anything. You don't need to write a poem. It could be 3 words. Just do something to make somebody smile. So challenge yourself. And if you challenge yourself, say 1 person a day and then 2 people a day, you will quickly, I say within a week, find that you'll find more and more people around you that are smiling, that are happy. Because it's what you start looking for. So just look outside yourself, look outside your to-do list and try and put something better in the world.
Love it. Thank you so much, Lisa Lyons. This has been awesome. I feel like I just went to a masterclass in kindness.
Well, I don't think you needed it. I think you're right there with me. And the truth is, I really do think a lot of people are just like us. I do. I think we all just forget it once in a while.
Sure, of course. You kind of get in your own little your tunnel, and you get tunnel vision, and you forget that you're a citizen of the world, and that even though you're a speck on the Earth's planet, you can still make a difference.
Yeah, and it's funny because a lot of people say to me, I don't have time to do, and I'm like, you don't have to go travel and do something major. You don't have to donate thousands of dollars. I'm talking just in your everyday, you can do those things. Those are all wonderful things. But in your everyday world, just try and put a little bit of goodness out into this world that everyone likes to say is so mean.
Right. Well, if you're looking for it, you're going to find it. Right, Lisa?
You are. That's for sure.
Thank you so much. Don't go anywhere. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you for being, and have make it a kind and wonderful day. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for listening to Possibilities with Monique de Maio, where we unpack life as a female mover and shaker. If you like the show, please consider liking it, or better still, subscribing to it and leaving us a rating. It truly does help. Also, you can pick up my book, The 7 Secrets to Creating a Life You Love, a practical guide for women in leadership. You can find the book, other episodes of this podcast, and how to stay in touch at moniquedemaio.com. DEMAIO. I look forward to seeing you again soon. With gratitude, Monique.